5:50 p.m. Welcome to our evening transmission. This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next program.
This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Times of India, in its editorial titled Chandrayaan-2 Delay, writes, in a setback for the Indian Space Research Organisation ISRO, the Chandrayaan-2 moon mission had to be called off due to a technical glitch just an hour before launch in the early hours of Monday. India's second moon mission has been touted as a big step for the country's space science. It entails soft landing a lander christened Vikram at the south pole of the moon, a rare feat. Further, Vikram is supposed to carry a rover named Pragyan that would roll out on the lunar surface and conduct experiments. If this happens, India would just be the fourth country in the world to place a rover on the moon. Chandrayaan-2 will now undergo investigation to determine the cause of the technical glitch, and it is only after that a new launch window will be announced. While India's space program has made commendable strides in recent years, the aborted moon mission this time also hints at the fact that our gains haven't been consolidated enough. There is no denying that the future is space, and a new space race is already underway to master this domain. This is because space is no longer a distinct entity outside human lives, with a large number of on-Earth functions ranging from communications to weather mapping being controlled by satellites. Plus, there is also talk of constructing a moon base to aid forays deeper into space. Thus, the country that is at the forefront of space science will have a strategic advantage, and if our strategic rival is China, then comparisons with the Chinese space program are natural. Beijing successfully conducted its first manned space mission in 2003, something India is planning to do only by 2022, and earlier this year became the first country to land a spacecraft on the dark side of the moon. The Indian Express, in its editorial titled Public and Private, says an interministerial committee of the central government is set to recommend a second list of public sector assets that could be monetized to raise resources which could then be ploughed back into fresh investments. Reportedly, the proposal entails leasing out public sector assets such as gas pipelines of GAIL, mobile towers of public telecom operators like BSNL and MTNL, and ATMs of state-owned banks to private sector players. Ownership of these assets, though, would continue to vest with the PSUs or government. Earlier, the first list of assets approved by the Interministerial Committee included 12 sports stadiums, NTPC's Badarpur plant, ITDC's Ashoka Hotel, among others. Coming at a time when private sector investments remain subdued, the move to monetize and recycle public sector assets is welcome. Fresh public investments could gradually help crowd in private investments. Over the past few years, despite several initiatives of the government, private sector investments have remained sluggish. As a result, the burden of driving investments has fallen on the public sector. But with limited fiscal space, the ability of the general government, centre and states to boost investments is severely limited. In such circumstances, asset recycling and monetization is an innovative way for the public sector to raise resources. At its core, the idea essentially involves giving funds back to the company by leasing an asset, brownfield projects where the process will be easier, to private players for a long term. The transactions could be structured in various ways: large upfront payments with small or no annual payments, or a small upfront payment and regular annual payments. This, it is hoped, would be lapped up by pension and sovereign funds who are looking for a fixed income stream with limited execution risk. The Economic Times, in its editorial titled Some Good News on the Population Front, writes, Indian families are opting to have fewer children, but the ratio of girls to boys born has deteriorated. This, in short, is the message from Sample Registration System Numbers for 2017, published by the Registrar General of India. The total fertility rate, TFR, the number of children each mother is likely to have, has fallen to 2.2 from 2.3 and is well on course to dip below 2.1, the replacement level. It debunks neo-Malthusian scenarios of populations growing relentlessly till famine, starvation, and strife restore the balance. Population growth tapers off with increased literacy, access to contraception, and social and economic progress. Unsurprisingly, the 5 southern states have TFRs below the national average in the 1.5 to 1.7 range. Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, West Bengal, Uttarakhand, and Odisha, with some social and economic mobility, are also below the pan-India average. The worst performer is Bihar, historically a laggard in every development criterion. However, between 2014 to 16 and 2015 to 17, India's sex ratio, the number of females per thousand males, worsened from 890